You remind me of someone, but I'm not gonna mention who it is. The guy who introduces his welcome to my garage. Knowledge!
Will motivation. Will motivation.
You're watching Will Motivation. Here is where we create, educate, and motivate. Welcome to Will Motivation.
Yo, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Will Motivation, and I'm back with another video. For those of you that have never seen my channel before, my name is Will Motivation. I like to do videos about supercars. As you can see, I've got a couple here. This is my Lamborghini Gallardo, and that over there, give you guys a quick look at it. That is my Lamborghini Aventador, my newest toy. And coming soon, I'll have another Lamborghini in the garage just in time for Christmas. So you guys stay tuned for that. But this video, I'm not talking about the cars themselves, but I'm talking about how you can get the cars. So the title of this video is probably what brought a lot of you guys here because you're curious. So I'm gonna get straight to the point. We're talking about wholesaling and what is wholesaling, how people make money. This is like one of the quickest ways a lot of people get into investing in real estate. They become wholesalers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm quickly gonna answer the question of how much money people can make wholesaling deals in real estate. And then I got a special treat for you guys that really want to learn more about wholesaling, because I'm taking a clip from my online course. For those of you that don't know, I actually have an online real estate course, which I created because a lot of people on YouTube watch my videos and they see that I'm driving around in these Lamborghinis and they wonder how in the world I can afford cars like this. So after enough people, I mentioned the fact that I invest in real estate. Show you guys the inside real quick. I mentioned the fact that I invest in real estate, and I talk about that a little bit, and I also talk about some of my entrepreneurship activities. But more than anything, people started to ask me to do an online course teaching how to invest in real estate, different strategies. So I have actually done most of my investing by doing buy and hold rental properties and flipping properties. Just like you see in a lot of those television shows, flip or flop, that kind of thing, I do that. But a lot of people, when they don't have capital, they don't have a lot of money saved up, they want to start out doing wholesaling, because with wholesaling, you don't necessarily have to have a whole lot of money. But anyway, let me get into answer the question of how much money you can make doing wholesaling. So as I answer that question, I'm gonna show you guys this Lamborghini Gallardo, just in case some of you guys are here for the cars and not the knowledge. But anyway, I know of people that have done wholesale deals with no money out of pocket and made over $100,000 on flipping a contract or wholesaling, over 100 grand. So if you understood what wholesaling is, you'll realize that that's a lot of money. $100,000, and with wholesaling, you don't have to do the rehab. You don't have to, fix up the property and list it for sale and all that kind of stuff. You just have to have your own network of people that you can flip a contract to, a real estate purchase contract to. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how people do wholesaling. I'm taking an excerpt from one of the lessons in my online course. And from a timing perspective, this is good because we're coming up on Thanksgiving. So happy holidays to everybody watching this video, and happy Thanksgiving. And I'm actually going to do a Black Friday sale on my online real estate course. So for those of you guys that have been waiting, or those of you guys that are really serious about learning how to invest in real estate, then you guys can get a significant discount on my online course. Just tune in. Actually, it'll be Thanksgiving after everybody eats their turkey. I'll do a live stream at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday, Thanksgiving 2019. and I'll be giving a significant discount on my online course and just answering a lot of the questions you guys might have about real estate. But without further ado, I'm going to show you guys this lesson from my course where we talk about wholesaling. You'll get an idea of my style and basically how I kind of share information with you guys on the course. So a lot of times I do sit down, classroom style, not classroom style, but I have like a PowerPoint and I go through and I just talk to you guys real quickly about the different concepts to learn how to invest in real estate. And then we do field trips. So I show you guys different projects actually in the field that I'm doing, and hope you guys can learn from that. So, and then I'm actually, the difference between a book and an online course is with a book, you don't have access to the author that wrote the book. But with my online course, you have access to me. So yeah, if you guys want to check that out, make sure to tune in on Thursday. I'll also put a link in the description for the online course. But Thursday, tune in to my live stream. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and you turn on the notifications. But without further ado, go ahead and check out this lesson on how people wholesale. Okay, in this lecture, we're going to talk about a hot topic, which is wholesaling or contract flipping. And after this lecture, you're going to understand why they call wholesaling contract flipping, because you're basically getting a home into contract and then flipping that contract for profit. So I consider myself more of an expert in flipping and buy and hold or rental properties. However, I wanted to make sure I talked about wholesaling in this course because it is a way for you to make money. All right, so let's get right into it and let's talk about the definition, first of all, of wholesaling. So wholesaling is when you go into contract on a property from a motivated seller with the intention of finding a cash buyer for that property and then flipping that contract to your cash buyer for a purchase price higher than your contract price with the seller. Okay, thus you make a profit. Now there are a lot of details when you start talking about wholesaling. So some of those things in the life cycle or process of wholesaling include you being able to find good deals. And like I said, we're going to talk about evaluating deals in a critical lecture later on. But you got to be able to find good deals or motivated sellers. So wholesalers have a lot of strategies for finding good deals that can include basically going online to find good deals as far as homes that are already listed for sale, usually for sale by owner or FSBO, FSBO, or actually having people in your network that you basically find by advertising. So a lot of times you might see signs out that say we buy houses with cash and stuff like that. Well, these are just strategies for marketing to find motivated sellers. So you might actually target certain homes and certain zip codes with your signs to say, hey, we will buy your house, that kind of thing, and advertise to create a pipeline of motivated sellers. So you got to find deals. Now, the next thing you got to be able to do is analyze deals, which is basically evaluate properties, which is critical no matter what kind of investing you want to do in real estate. You have to be able to analyze or evaluate properties and deals. Then, critical to being a wholesaler, because you're not going to have a realtor involved when you wholesale. I think a lot of realtors consider wholesaling sort of competition to being a realtor. So you have to be able to negotiate deals on your own. And when you're buying as an investor for flips and rentals, usually you can work with a realtor, and the realtor will handle the negotiation for you, and they will have a lot more experience typically than your average buyer or investor. All right. So when you do wholesaling, you're usually negotiating your own deals, because if you add a realtor, it will cut out, a lot of times it'll completely cut out your profit. All right. So as a wholesaler, you're not working with realtors. All right. That's something to remember. But you got to be able to negotiate your own deal and your pricing. You got to come up with your own documentation for basically putting that home into contract with the out clauses that you need that will be advantageous to a wholesaler. So you've got to be able to control the deal. So that means basically you go to the seller and you come up with the contract. The seller agrees to the contract. You get everything signed off and in writing, and that's how you can control the deal for a certain amount of time. And then you go out and sell that deal to an investor. And then when you close on that deal, you collect the fees, and you're back at it again, finding more deals and doing wholesaling that way. Now, you gotta the one thing about wholesaling, you have to be very aware of your local laws around real estate and around wholesaling. So you might want to talk to a lawyer, a real estate lawyer that can help you come up with your contracts, or even tell you if wholesaling is legal in your area, or how you can do it legally. So so let me just go over my list. So let's look at my list of things to be aware of when wholesaling, and talking about how to wholesale. So first of all, you need a robust marketing engine to get leads, and this is not always easy. So that's where we're talking about, coming up with the email list, coming up with a website to collect leads of interested and motivated sellers. The next, you need an active network of buyers or investors in order to be successful. When we say an active network, that's critical, because when you go into contract on these homes as a wholesaler, you got a certain amount of time, usually like 30 days, to close. And so you got to be able to find that investor who wants to buy the home within 30 days. And you got to be good at that, or else your deals will fall apart and you make no money. And you might even lose money, like your earnest money, to get into contract. All right. So you need an active network of buyers or investors in order to be successful. Then you got to closing with an assignment of contract to your buyer, or through a dual closing with dual escrow accounts to hide the profit from the seller. So this is one of those complicated or complexities of wholesaling. Whereas when you find a seller, when you go to close, sometimes they're not aware of how wholesaling works, and then you're making a profit by finding a buyer. Sometimes the seller might have a problem with you as a wholesaler making a profit off of them selling their house, especially if they're in a distressed situation, or a motivated situation. Then you turn around and let's say you get such a good deal in contract with that seller that you're going to turn around and make 20 grand or something like that, flipping that contract to a buyer. That seller might have a problem with it, and you might have to do what is called a dual closing, where it's almost like separate closings with the title agency, so that you can hide what you're selling the house for when you sell it to the actual investor or buyer that you're flipping it to. So you got to be careful about that, okay? But those are some of the things that you can find out. If you want to get more involved in wholesaling, I'm looking at maybe doing a specific advanced course for wholesaling, but I want you to understand what it is, so that if you're interested in it, you can go to pursue that avenue, all right? But anyway, you've got to be able to close the deals efficiently for as little money as possible when working with the title company. Got to cross your T's and dot your I's and get the closing done correctly as a wholesaler. Now, what are some of the pros and cons of wholesaling? Let's talk about that next. Some of the pros of wholesaling would include little or no cash to get started. So when we start talking about little cash, you might have to put down earnest money to go into contract. So earnest money could be $1,000, could be $500, or whatever you agree to with the home seller. All right, that's called earnest money. So it's basically like good faith money. So basically, if you cancel the contract for any reason, or it falls through for any reason other than what's stipulated in the contract, then they get to keep that earnest money, because you're basically wasting their time. So that earnest money, like I've done it almost all the time. I have to put up earnest money when I buy homes from HUD. So I think like $1,000 or something like that. And if I flake out of the deal, then they get to keep that money, because they got to relist the property and do all the work. So, but that's a pro of wholesaling, is you have little to no money to get started. And sometimes you don't have to put up any earnest money, so that would be a no money situation. So that's definitely a pro. Sometimes there's no rehab work required. Well, not sometimes, all of the time, because you're not actually going to get in the property and start fixing it up and flip, because that would be a flip. When you wholesale, you're just dealing with the paperwork. All right, so there's no rehab required. there's a relatively fast turnaround time. So if you're talking about 30 days to flip a deal, then I think that's pretty quick compared to somebody doing a flip. And then there's no credit required. So like when you're going into contract with that motivated seller, you're not going through credit checks and things of that nature. This is why it's, I think, a very popular option for a lot of people just getting started in real estate. But those are some of the pros that we talk about when we're talking about wholesaling. Now, what are some of the cons to wholesaling? The seller could be upset for money that is lost that becomes your profit, because sometimes somebody's in a situation, they want to sell their house quick and they don't know what the value is, but you do. And then you go to them and say, hey, I can help you sell your home for quick and I can get you $100,000 for your home. Let's go into contract. And they're like, oh, great. You saved the day. But then you know that home is worth $140,000 and you go to an investor and you sell it for $130,000. And depending on how you do that closing, they find out that you made $30,000 or $20,000 in profit. And they're like, man, I could have sold, if I got a realtor or listed my home myself and knew the value, I could have made that $20,000 myself. What did I need you for as a wholesaler? And then they might get upset and it could be a problem. So that's one con for wholesaling if you're not careful. And then number two, contracts are critical and need to be on point so that you don't take an L. And when not taking an L, I mean an earnest money or escrow money that could be lost if you do not find a buyer fast enough. All right, so you could potentially lose money that way or lose credibility and reputation. And you just have to work hard to keep an updated and active list of buyers. All right, so that's not always an easy task. And if your buyer flakes out, like let's say you have somebody that tells you, hey, I'm ready to buy any house you could find me with this profit margin around 100 to 150,000, and you go out and find somebody that needs to sell their home, and you as the wholesaler put the home in contract, and you go back to that same buyer and they're like, never mind, my situation changed, and you're already in contract, you got a flaky buyer, and then you got a situation where you could lose the profits or potentially lose whatever earnest money you might put up. So that is the high level about wholesaling, just to get you, knowing enough to be dangerous, right? And knowing enough for you to decide maybe flips are not for you initially, or maybe buy and hold is not for you initially, but maybe you want to get started wholesaling. But like I said, the first step to getting involved in wholesaling is to understand in the market where you plan on wholesaling, the legalities around it and how to do it properly and legally. So you may have to invest in getting a real estate lawyer or invest in doing the research in that local market. So it's not something that I could have right here in this lecture, because every state could have slightly different real estate laws, and even some of the local municipalities could have different laws around real estate. So wherever you decide you want to do wholesaling, you got to do your research and make sure you're doing things properly and legally. All right. So that concludes this lecture on wholesaling. Hopefully you found it useful and interesting, and wake up. We got a lot more to learn.